This is going to be another one of me laying on my couch. How y'all doing? Um, so over the weekend we had filming. We did some filming for the movie Rabbits that I'm making, the horror film with the demon rabbits I've been talking about. And it's probably the most difficult weekend of filming that I've ever had for any project ever, as far as things came up. Every shoot day. Um, it just was complicated, but everybody's okay. Everything ended up well. We got most of what we needed, so you know, it is what it is. But um, I had a nice long conversation with a former student who's working on the film. He's been doing a really good job, and he is at the same place that I probably was when I was his age. I was probably a little bit older when I was there with the whole um, yeah, I didn't have a lot of equipment when I started making movies, and I started in animation, which is quite a bit different than film as far as what you need. I started with a webcam, and it was like a 100 by 230 resolution Logitech QuickCam. It was not very good at all, and it was back about 2004 or 5 or something like that. But anyway, that's not the point. So he he and I were talking, and so I'm just going to share with you some of what I told him because I think it's important. Going to school, I started originally kind of wanting to go for film. I was going for art. I wanted to do film, switched to art, and then decided that, I would like to work here where I live and have like a day job essentially. And that could pay for my art, which has worked out pretty well. And so I became a teacher, which has also panned out pretty well. And in terms of it being fulfilling and all that sort of thing. But I was in school for 7 years, and most of that time I didn't make anything that I consider significant in terms of my art or film or anything. And part of that's because people that are your mentors or whatever in college, a lot of the people I ran into weren't as focused on, they're focused on your learning process, right? Or as they see your learning process. So the focus isn't on you making big finished product art like a feature film or whatever. Nobody wants you to do that. And in fact, in some cases, it's discouraged. I was told more than once that you need to be focusing on your portfolio. You don't need to be focusing on selling artwork, which was something else that I did on the side. And so that's one thing. So you have people that you're looking up to, or you should be, looking up to, telling you that what you're wanting to do is the wrong thing to do. The second thing is you see films as they're coming out, and you see movies, and even like low budget movies and student films, and you're really like, wow, that's really great. What kind of camera are you using? And they always gave the answer that at the time you think is like cliche. They go, well, the camera doesn't matter. It's the what you're making with it, and that is true to some extent. But also, it's not true because you have to have good enough quality that people want to sit and watch your film, right? Or you have to have good enough materials to be able to make the artwork to where people are going to be interested in it. So that's part of it. But I spent a lot of time not making movies because I just didn't have what I felt was good equipment, and so I would make something a little bit like that's not good enough quality, and that was a lot of that was before the high definition cell phone cameras and stuff too. So, um, but now it's brilliant because there really is not even that excuse. People now, it cracks me up, look at the cell phone cameras and they think, well, it's too low a quality. Um, I'm using an iPhone 8, just an 8, not an 8 Plus. An 8 Plus has all the bells and whistles on the camera and that sort of thing. But even with an 8, you can still film in high definition, but you don't need to film in high definition. If you're wanting to make a DVD of your film, DVDs are in standard definition. It's not in high definition. So, unless you're making Blu-rays. And if you're making a feature film, there's no reason that it has to be in high def if you just accept what it is. I mean, like the movie I'm making now is a super, super low budget feature film. I'm using a Canon T3i that I got years ago, okay, to film this with, and a lighting kit that I got offline for like $150. And it's got all kinds. It's a cheap, Amazon Chinese knockoff stuff, but it works perfect. And I've never had a lighting kit before, so it's amazing to me with this cheap kit that a lot of people might look down on how amazing I can make things look as far as what I want. Because I used to just use, I had two utility lights, just little like what are they called? You get them at like Lowe's. They're the aluminum kind of dish around the light and the clamp lights. Okay, I had two of those. That's what I used for years for lighting, and they're woefully inadequate. Though they do have some, there are some benefits, and I have used them in this film as well because the warmer light, whatever, creative decisions. But the inexpensive lighting kit was a great buy. I also bought some sound equipment. It was like $150 sound recorder with a microphone, and so I raised money to buy some of that stuff with, because I wasn't going to use my own money to fund another big project, at least not wholly. I've used a little bit of my money here and there, but I don't want to spend you know $3,000 making a movie of my money. So unless I absolutely had to, but there was no reason that I had to. So we raised the money and we've used it to, we raised like $800 on the crowdfunding. Okay. My point is though, is I'm using a camera that is like 10 years out of date and low quality, everything, just like the cheapest you can buy on just about everything I'm getting, knockoff stuff, whatever. And it's looking fine. Okay. But I've also accepted what it is. I'm not making a cinema quality 4K Blu-ray theatrical. I'm not doing that. Okay, what I'm doing is making a low budget horror comedy film about killer rabbit puppets. Okay, so the focus is not on it's gonna be great quality and everything. Uh, the focus is on having good enough quality to make the film I want to make, and so you can do that though. It's just making movies that make sense with what you have. Don't. Why are you trying to do something that's outside of what your means is right now? And nothing is sadder to me than people that are trying to make a movie they can't afford to make. So, you know, it, there are ways to do creative things and do what you want to do within reason, and you can figure those out if you're creative. But this idea that you need the best equipment is true if you want to make a movie that leans completely into the best equipment. But if you're creative with the way you shoot a film and you write a script and develop a story and develop shots and stuff that you accept what you have, you can make all kinds of stuff. You can make the movie you want to make for the most part, as long as you, within reason, think about what am I doing and why am I doing it, and what do I have to do it with. If like I have that camera, and I in the budget originally wanted to buy a better camera, okay, that does like night shots and stuff better. And I looked into that, and I have a friend who has one who's offered to loan it to me and let me use it whenever I want to. But when I started playing with this lighting kit with my camera and that kind of thing, I like the way it looks. It's not as nice as the newer camera, but that's okay. It does everything I need it to do, and it's accessible. Um, I don't need to travel to borrow it and then worry about breaking something or dropping something and feeling bad about it. It's just, I just can use whatever I have. So I think my next project after this one, though, and this is looking way ahead, like a year from now, maybe 2 years from now, is to make an entire feature film that I can find distribution for, whether it's self-distributed or whatever. They can get distributed and make money on, that I can make on a budget under $1,000. I think that's going to be And when I say under $1,000, I don't mean like $999. I mean like significantly. And I'm going to include in that budget the equipment costs that I already have. So I'll look at what equipment I'm using and add in the cost. I've even thought about you doing it on my phone, because so many people have the phones, and it really does have a decent camera. Creatively, the lens issue for me is the problem, because I like to adjust the depth of field and lighting and that sort of thing. So if you had like a plus camera, like an iPhone Plus, you would have more of those. You could do that. I would probably be okay with that, um, but I might just make it on the standard iPhone just to see how that turns out. Um, this is a big ramble thing, but the moral to it, though, and this is what the conversation was with him, is just make the movie. Just make a movie, okay? Don't stress over all the other stuff. Just make one. And even if the movie you make is crap, like even if it's total garbage, the quality's garbage, the audio's garbage, all that, okay? Even if it's garbage, it's still one more movie than all of those people out there that are telling you how crappy your movies are have ever made. Um, Most people that criticize low budget filmmakers are not low budget filmmakers. There are people who are lucky enough to have people funding higher budget films, or there are people who don't make movies at all. Who are those people? And even if you have other low budget filmmakers criticizing you, who cares? Like, who are they? You know? It's just make the things you want to make, man. And I promise you, as a person who loves bad movies, I love crappy movies. There's a movie out there worse than the one in your head, worse than the one you would make, that has distribution, that people are paying money for. Okay. So I don't know if this is supposed to be motivational or whatever. I just wanted to share that conversation because I had it with him, but I've had it quite a few times about just making things, and about not having guilt about the stuff you can't really control, or if you do a project and you only get it halfway done and you don't get it finished. That was another conversation we had, because he said he felt bad about all these projects he has that I started on it, but I never finished these things. And that's the problem with, I think, every creative person. If you're truly creative, you have so many ideas and so many ways. It's constant and it's overwhelming. And so you'll get involved in a project and you don't get it done, but your brain's already moved on to something else and you're just done with it. Don't feel bad about that. That's in the nature. Every Stanley Kubrick spent years researching a film on Napoleon that never got made. He never made it. Things fell through. They almost made it a couple of times. One of the greatest accounts of Napoleon's life, broken down day by day, was assembled by Stanley Kubrick to develop a film that was never made. You know, what I'm saying is, even these people do that. Okay, the difference is they're making tons of money to do it. Don't feel guilty about that. Okay, just keep at it though. Like, you do have to finish things sometimes. Okay, and those things need to be a good representation of you. But if you don't finish things, don't feel guilty about it. Just move on to something else. It's okay. That's it. I mean, I don't know, this is the premise of the conversation. I thought I would share it with you. I also needed content for this week, so I felt that would be a good topic to hit on it. Hope everybody has a good week. Toodles.